Okay, so next I'm gonna bring in the images to our application. So let's close this out. Let's minimize this and let's open our Solution Explorer. I'm going to create a folder, new folder here. That's going to contain the images. So let's call this images. Okay, now I'm going to copy the images in here, drag and drop actually. It's chicken. It's basically the same image with different names. Meatball for at this sandwich typist, but the others are just fine. And this is a demo, so I mean, if you want, you can add your own images or different images. That's fine. Real life application probably would be separate image for each one, but that will do the job for us. I'm going to bring in the other stuff too. So lettuce, mushrooms, tomato, and cheeses, right? American and Swiss will be sufficient at this time. Okay, so we got our images here. Next thing I want to do, I want to edit the XML file we created here. So I'm going to start with the sandwich. Where's the sandwich one? I'm going to right click and say edit. I'm just going to use the notepad. So if you want, you can bring it to Visual Studio or use a different editor. But I'm just going to expand the root element. And inside here, I want to add a sandwich tag. All right, let me check the properties again. So sandwich is ID, name, price, image. ID, name, price, image. So ID will be one, first one. I think this needs to be inside double quotes. The first one will be ID of one, name of say chicken. Actually, let's start with uppercase letter. It'll look nicer. All right, chicken, and then actually the next property is, I think it's the price. Say $3.99, and image would be chicken dot png. I believe it's PNG or JPEG. Let's double check that. It's a JPEG. Okay, and let's close this one out. Now we can copy this line and change a few things. Okay, so ID of 2, ID of 3, this is tuna, So 299 changes to tuna JPEG, and the last one will be meatballs. Say 499. An image would be meatballs.jpg. Okay, so that's the sandwich file, which we're going to read from. Next, let's edit the. Let's go with the cheeses. Let's edit the cheeses. That's not what I want to do. So edit. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. So in between our root tag, we need to add a, let's say, what is this, cheeses, right? Cheese. ID equals 1. Our name equals American, and image equals American dot. Let's double check the file extension. PNG, and the other one is PNG too. Okay. So this is PNG file. So and then close it. Close this out and copy once. And let's change ID to 2. Image 2. Well, actually the name should be Swiss. And Swiss PNG. Okay, that's done. Next, let's edit the veggies. Now we should be done with that. Okay, so our veggie has the same thing, so same properties. Actually, we could have copied it from there. Oh well. So ID 1, name, lettuce. I'm using attributes instead of elements, so I mean, you can use elements if you need to, or nodes, but attributes work fine with me. I mean, for me, as far as the properties go. Okay, just want to throw that out. Let's copy and paste this guy, and change the ID to 2, and lettuce, tomato, and mushrooms. Number 3 is mushrooms. Oopsie. Alright, so that's all good. Let's close and save it. Alright, so we got veggies, got cheeses, and we got the sandwiches. All right, so this too will be write only, I think, at this point, or at least for now. So we're going to write to these two files as we process the orders. Okay, so let's close this out. And let's go back to Visual Studio. All right, so we are going to add a few more methods here in our XML data class. So first of all, we're not going to use this anymore. We're done with this method here. So I'm going to comment this out and collapse this. That was a one-time deal, so we created files and that was all set. All right, so the first method, I want to read the sandwiches that's saved in the XML file. So public is going to return a list of sandwiches. So public static list of sandwiches, sandwich, and let's call this get sandwiches. All right. So, okay. In here, we are going to first declare a variable called xdoc to grab the file, and we're going to set this to xdocument.load. The file that we are looking for is sandwich.xml. So here we are loading the file into memory, and next we are going to say var list equals xdoc. We're grabbing the X document, and then we'll say root.descendants. Here we're looking for the let's go back to our sandwich file. We're looking for this tag. So it's a capital, starts with a capital S, so sandwich. So we're going to get all the sandwich nodes, and then we're going to say select and say x is going to be a lambda expression. X equals greater. Now we're going to create a new instance of the sandwich class. All right, and in here we're going to say id equals x dot attribute, and the attribute we are looking for is the id as well dot value, and that's going to give us a problem, I think. And yes, because id is an integer and it's looking for an integer, but it comes in as string, so we have to parse it to int. Okay, once we do that, we'll say comma, name equals x dot attribute. The name of the attribute is name, and we get the value of that attribute. So we got the ID, we got the name. Next, we need the price and the image. Okay, so price equals, it's going to be similar to int parse, but instead we'll have decimal parse, and we'll get the x dot attribute, and we're looking for the price attribute, and get the value of that attribute. All right, lastly, we need to get the image. Got a little problem here. Let's back off a little bit. Comma should have been at the end of the second parens. And next we need the image equals x dot attributes, and the attribute is image img for short, and we get the value of that. All right, and then we'll convert this to a list, because I think at this point we should have an IEnumerable. Yep, and then we are looking for a list, so let's convert this to a list and then return it. Return the list. Okay, that should read our sandwiches from our file. Let's try that out. Let's put a breakpoint right here. Actually, oopsie. Let's put a breakpoint right on the return. There you go. Okay, and let's call this from our main constructor. So XML data dot get sandwiches. So if we call this and run this, we should have lists stored in this variable. Let's try it out. Okay, let's see, we've got 3 items in there, so that means we are doing on the right track. All right, so one of them is chicken, the other one is tuna, and lastly we have the meatballs. All right, so that's all good. Let's go ahead and create another one to 2 more methods to read the veggies and the cheeses. So public static list, and let's grab the veggie this time, and let's say get veggies. Okay, so same thing here, well, similar. Xdoc equals xdocument dot load, and this time we need the veggie dot XML. Make sure we didn't spell incorrectly. Yep, should be good. All right, so after that we'll do var list equals xdoc dot root dot descendants, and all the descendants of the root element, and the tag we are looking for is veggie. Starts with capital V. Okay, so it matters here because it's text. So veggie. Once we grab that, we want to say select x equals greater than lambda expression. Here we're going to create a new instance of the veggie class, and then set the properties. The ID is equals to x dot attribute ID dot value, and I think we have to parse this since we are looking for an integer. So int dot parse, and then let's get the image equals x dot to attribute. Oops, did I go too fast? All right, let's slow down a little bit. So the attribute we're looking for this time is image, and we need the value of that attribute. And let's cast it to a list, or convert to a list, and then return it. return list. Okay, let's try this out. Let's comment this get sandwiches and call this guy, the one we just created, get veggies. Okay, so if we run this, if we did everything right, we should have some values in our list. And we got an exception. Well, which reminds me, we need to do error handling, but that's going to be on a later part of this demo, so we'll get there. Right, object reference not set to an instance of an object. Yada yada yada. So we are getting the error in here, I believe. Let's see. Let's find out why. Alright, so ID, we are getting the ID. Let's take another peek at our file. We have ID and name. So that's alright. And the root is there. Unless both we have open and close root tags. That seems alright. Let's see. This one looks good. And this one looks good. Name. Ooh, name. We don't have the image, we have the name. And our file is not complete, so we need to fix this. So, okay. The veggie has, let's take another look here. I think we have ID and image. Alright, so the veggie class has an ID and image attribute, but our actual XML file has an, instead of the name we have, image, we have name. So we gotta fix that. Alright, let's go back to, let's see, what did we do with the cheeses? Got name and image. Alright. So, cheese has 2. Alright, we gotta fix our classes. I think we're missing properties here. So we're going to add another property. And this time it's going to be string. Let's call this name. Well, actually it is name. And let's copy and paste the same thing to our cheese class. Okay, that should take care of that. Now that's fixed. Let's fix our code here. And we need to fix our XML file. So name equals x dot attribute name dot value. Alright, that's done. Let's go into our XML file and now see veggies here. So we need to add an image here. So image equals lettuce dot png. Copy and paste this. One more, and let's change the lettuce to tomato here. And let's change lettuce to mushroom here. Is it singular or plural? Let's check our file names. So tomato is plural and mushrooms is plural, I believe. And lettuce is singular. Okay. All right. So let's change this back to tomatoes, or we can change our file name in here. Well, regardless, actually, let's change here. Probably easier change here. Okay, so that's done. Let's try this out again. And I think we are good now. 3 records. Lettuce, mushroom, and tomatoes. Perfect. All right, so we gain those. So this is done. Next, let's do the same thing with cheese. I'm just gonna basically, well, no, actually, let me create the method and then we can copy the rest of the stuff and make the changes. Public static list of cheese. Get cheeses. And let's go ahead and copy and paste this code here. Instead of veggies, we'll do cheese here. Instead of this tag, we're looking for a cheese tag, I think. Cheese, yep. ID, name, and image. Alright, so cheese, we can, okay, here we got to change this to cheese. And the rest should be alright. We made a couple changes, one here, and 3 changes. It's not bad. And now let's comment this out and call the new one. So XML data, get cheeses. Okay, and let's run this. Okay, so now we have 2 items in here, and one is American, and then second one should be Swiss. Perfect. All right, so we got the cheeses as well. All right. So we are reading our files with no problem. Okay, and the other 2 files I think we're going to use for just write only. The order and the payment, and that's it, I think. Yep. All right.